Ready? Start. I have no intention of giving a certificate about which my honorable friend Dr. Krishna Swami was talking some time ago, since anything like the certificate being given by any member of the business community is likely to be misunderstood. But the fact remains that impartial observers both here and abroad have testified to the soundness and stability of our finances, which have successfully withstood severe stresses and strains of the changing economic factors, both national and international, and for this the fullest possible credit is due to the wise handling of the situation by our present finance minister. There have been criticisms on both sides. Some have described the budget as pro big business, as something which has brought about a boom in the stock exchange, and as something which has brought about satisfaction in the business circles. The fact is that if there has been any satisfaction, it has been due purely to negative features of the budget and not because any positive relief in any direction has been given to business or industry. It is true that there were certain fears in the minds of the business community that, in view of the expanding and growing needs of the center, the finance minister might resort to certain further additional taxation. And since those fears were not realized, there has been some slight recovery in certain stock exchanges, but that does not in the least mean then that whatever relief and legitimate relief was due to the business and industrial community has received any adequate response from the finance minister. We have got to face the fact that we are at present engaged in the process of development. People who talk about UK and USA conveniently forget that these are the most highly industrialized countries in the world, and our taxation system, so long as we are engaged in expanding and building our economy, must be adjusted and linked with the requirements of the expanding economy and should not be compared with the high taxation levels that may be prevalent in UK and USA. Friends have talked about unemployment, but whether the raising of the direct taxation levels will in any way mitigate unemployment is a question that should be considered. If the finance minister gives substantial relief in direct taxation, I think that might lead to an acceleration in the pace of development. So, it has to be considered whether it is relief in taxation which will lead to a reduction of unemployment or whether it is raising of taxation to the utmost levels which will dry up the resources and channels of capital formation and thereby not only retard all further development but might also throw the functioning of present industries out of gear. So, my submission is that when the Taxation Inquiry Committee has been appointed, it is only logical to expect that no substantial changes in the taxation structure will be made until the findings of that expert committee are known, until we know the incidence of taxation in the various sectors of our economy. Now, coming to the question of deficit financing. I am afraid that my esteemed friend's attitude was somewhat different from the line of opinion in the business and industrial community. Not that we advocate deficit financing for bringing any artificial rise in prices, but the fact is that those who have criticized deficit financing have not suggested any other alternative or made any other constructive suggestion which will bring about necessary development plans. After all, the fact has got to be faced that whatever program we have set out in the national plan should go on unimpeded by any financial considerations. An assurance has been given by the finance minister that so far as financial resources are concerned, he will ensure that the 5-year plan will not in any way be retarded. In this connection, I can only say that deficit financing is one thing so far as the revenue budget is concerned, so far as normal expenses and expenditure are concerned. Certainly, nobody would advocate deficit financing, which might be very undesirable. But when it is a question of doing something abnormal, of investigating something in productive channels, then certainly some risk has to be taken. And I think the finance minister has been fully cautious in taking whatever measures he has so far. We know the measures that the government took for contracting money supply about the end of 1950 and certain other measures adopted which brought about a slump. Also, from time to time, the finance minister did not hesitate to mop up the surplus, which, as the records would show, has been about rupees 300 crores during the past 4 or 5 years. In the course of the debate yesterday on the Home Ministry demand, a number of points were raised by honorable members. In particular, I am happy that some members of this House appreciated the efforts that were being made by the state governments as also by the centre so far as the various subjects under discussion were concerned, especially so far as the law and order situation was concerned. It was very good on the part of some members to have appreciated the efforts made by the state governments in this regard. There were a number of other points also which were raised, and in respect of some of them, I should like to enlighten the House so far as the real position is concerned. These points deal very briefly with Tripura, the Andamans, Delhi, and Gujarat, and they have also some bearing on the question of the scheduled caste, the scheduled tribes, and the services. These, therefore, are the various points, and I should like to place the correct picture before this House so that the House will know what government have been doing so far as all these questions are concerned. With your permission, I would deal briefly with Tripura first. When the Part C States Act was passed, in view of a number of circumstances, the geographical position of the state, the backward nature of the state, the existence of a very large number of tribal people, and a number of other circumstances, it was considered advisable so far as the administration of the state was concerned that it ought to be directly under the Government of India so that they can spend more for the purpose of developing this backward area. Now the question is often raised why we are not immediately introducing popular government in this tiny state, the population of which is 500,000. That question cannot be considered singly but will be considered in the context of the report that we are receiving very shortly in the course of the next 3 or 4 months from the States Reorganization Commission. The whole question will be considered. Their recommendations will be placed before the House and only then government will take appropriate action. So far as the present regime is concerned, it will also be kindly noted that it is not an autocratic rule in the properly accepted sense of the term.